If all else fails, you'll have to let them go because one rotten egg can spoil the whole basket. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Ash, and in this channel, you will learn to be the main character of your own story. But in this video, you'll understand how to deal with employees with a bad attitude, and I'll even talk about the big principle that you can use to implement straight away so you can have better conversations. Not too long ago, I was in a position with 6 teams under me delivering a significant project. And you can bet there were a few dodgy eggs in that basket. But by the end of that project, these few employees with a bad attitude had become some of my highest performing team members. So if you want to know how I converted them from being an employee with a bad attitude to being the highest performer in the team, then you can do 2 things. 1, stay to the end and take notes. And 2, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on any of the tips I come out with. I was at an event recently with many managers and senior leaders of the business present, and it was a privilege to talk to a lot of them and learn a lot from many experienced people. But I realized there was one fundamental issue. Even though we have come really far in understanding human behavior and the importance of good communication skills, many of them still struggled to have tough conversations, especially when it was to do with a person's character and not just the quality of their work. So if you face the same problem, then listen up. But before I jump into giving you the tips of how to action it, here are the 2 biggest mistakes the managers make when they're about to have tough conversations. Number 1, because they know the conversation they're about to have is really awkward, they start with massive pleasantries. And some of them are even overly nice. But this has been proven to be ineffective and even comes across as fake or ingenuine, and increases the anxiety levels in both parties involved. Not to mention, of course, that it sets a terrible precedence for the conversation that's about to take place, making the negative feedback so much harder to take on. The second biggest mistakes managers make when they're about to have tough conversations is to be too pally with that person at that moment. Really try to joke about it. This is just extremely cringeworthy and not effective at all, so just don't do it. Now that we've covered the biggest mistakes, here's what to do instead so you can have a good conversation with an employee who's having a bad attitude. So if you're a manager or have a senior position in the company, or you're just starting to scale up and hiring employees now, this is extremely crucial. Firstly, you have to understand that the bad attitude may not be what it seems on the surface. You have no idea what's happening in somebody's personal life or even their professional life beyond the scope of work that you've got them to deliver. Just like how your work stress can seep into your personal life and you suddenly find yourself arguing with your partner loads, your personal life can also leak into your work life. So it could be any number of reasons why this person has bad attitude. So the first thing you've got to do is apply compassion. But if you see this sort of offensive behavior or bad behavior happening repeatedly, you don't ignore it and you have to address it. But please don't do it in a public setting. Take them away to one side and just ask them if everything's okay. Give them the benefit of the doubt. But don't be so direct as to say, hey, is everything okay in your personal life? Instead, just note that their behavior has been a little bit off lately and just ask them if everything is okay or if there's anything that's bothering them. Just offer to be that person that they can speak to, or at least point them in a direction of somebody in your company who they can speak to. Yes, of course, this is easier said than done because in reality, it can be a little bit awkward. But if you find this sort of things awkward and you don't know how to have this assertive conversation, then check out this video because that will help you out. Oftentimes, just by you bringing up the fact that their behavior has been off lately will make them more self-aware, and so they will keep their own actions and behavior in check. Next time they feel something is off, they might control it. So you might have already solved the problem by just being nice. But if the employee continues to show bad attitude and you've already tried being nice, well then it's time to apply the BIG principle. BIG stands for behavior, impact, and get agreement. Again, this has to be done on a one-to-one setting. It can't be done on a desk-side chat, and preferably not in a public space. Don't start the meeting with massive pleasantries because that just sets false pretenses. Instead, just lead with the issue. If you follow the tips from this video, then you would have already mentioned it before, so they know that something's coming up if you've talked to them again about the same thing, so it's not a surprise. So here's how we apply BIG. Firstly, behavior. If you can use a specific situation, preferably one that happened recently, or even a set of examples that have happened in relative recent terms, that's going to strengthen your case a lot. Key here is to mention them factually. Don't let your own frustrations and other negative emotions seep into here, because if you do, it will basically take them back into their childhood and they'll feel like they're being told off. And when they're being told off, they're of course not really taking anything in. So if you want to have a fruitful conversation, keep this as open as possible and as factual and neutral as you can. Then it's time to talk about impact. What was the impact of the bad attitude or the behavioral issues that you've been seeing? Have you seen the quality of their work drop? Have you seen the team morale drop? Have you seen their productivity drop or the team's productivity drop because of it? Have other team members complained to you about the bad attitude? What's been the impact that their bad attitude has had on them, you, and the wider team? But I have 2 points of caution here. First point of caution, don't use any other employee names because that can just do more harm than good. 2, don't make it a blame game. I know this is a weird one, but you have to keep it as objective as you can. If they feel like they're under attack, then they're either going to just shut off and do nothing, or worse, they're going to become defensive and suddenly start blaming other things and other people for the issues that's happened instead of them taking ownership. So you're going to actually make it really counterproductive. So if you want to have a good conversation, and it's going to really help if you have assertive communication skills during this whole time. If you don't know what type of a communicator you are, then check out this video because that will help you out. Also, if you tend to get nervous a lot when you're about to have difficult conversations, then check out this video up here because that will help you. And I've also put all these links in the description below if you can't find it. Now, before I give you the G in the big framework and how to apply the bonus tip, if you're enjoying this content, I'd love it if you can smash the like button and subscribe to this channel. It will massively help me grow the channel and reach more people so I can help them become better leaders in their life and in career. Now let's get back in. It's time to G, get agreement. Followed my advice, then you've kept it as an open conversation. This way, you've been able to tell them about their behavioral issues as well as point out the impact that's been going on so far. If you followed the conversation and the assertive communication tips, then you've got them to nod along with you. The great thing is at this point, you have to be able to get them to respond, so verbally get the agreement that you guys are on the same page. This is really important because it shows you that they're taking it on board, but it shows them that you are there to help, and you are. You have to be open to support them through this. Oftentimes when managers are having these tough conversations with employees with bad attitude, they'll just list out all the problems and verbal diarrhea all over the employee and then just leave it and just expect the employee to go and fix it. But what it does is it leaves the employee with the bad attitude feeling defeated and deflated, which is really counterproductive because now they're really not going to do anything and you've actually just made the problem worse. So instead, if you're open to support and you get that verbal agreement, it's just human nature. They're going to want to explain themselves. So now it's your turn to really listen. So now your team member is opening up and they're having a conversation with you about what problems they're having, or at least agreeing with the points that you've made. Now the great thing is you both can come up with a solution together of how to move forward. You need to drive the resolution and tell them that you're open to talk and for support. You're not just there to give them work and get on with it, you're actually there to cultivate and improve them as well. At this point, you will realize that the conversational energy with dealing with an employee with a bad attitude will be deep, low, and heavy. So before ending the meeting, you have to bring the energy back up. You need to make it so both of you are on the same page, you know it was bad, but now you have a resolution for moving forward. This way, you'll both leave the meeting feeling good about each other and feeling good about the situation, and in fact, even be productive for the rest of the day, rather than the other way around where you can just sit and overthink the conversation and replay it over and over in your head. And on that note, if you do tend to overthink everything a lot, then watch this video up here. Now, these tips should help you handling the employee with a bad attitude, but if the problem still persists and the employee does not fix it, and if all else fails, you'll have to let them go because one rotten egg spoils the whole basket. Sorry, that's just the truth. Hope you've enjoyed this video and found it useful so far. If you have any questions or want to know how you can apply it in your situation, then DM me on Instagram. The link is down below in the description. If you haven't already, I'd love it if you can smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out any of my future videos. Also, leave me a comment on what you liked or if you have any other questions. I'd love to be able to help you out. And while you're there, watch these 2 videos next, or check out the description below for all the videos that I've linked in the conversation so far. And this will help you out to boss up your life and your career. And until next video, see ya.